morning, guys and girls. Welcome to another video. So it has been yet another few days trying to get that reaction carrier thrust right. I'm going to show you something here. I don't think I would recommend buying from this guy. We didn't have very good luck with this, but let me show you a little bit here. So to start, this surface here was not great. We had to cut that 4th thou. It also has a nice kink in it on that side. The holes where so you got this support on the outside edge all the way around. That's holding those gears in. The holes were drilled too wide, so the taper of the bolt could not even seat on the hub to pinch it in. It was seating just on itself. So we had to actually drill new holes and use these holes instead. I'm not sure why he didn't use those in the first place, but whatever. So we got those figured out. Then the next problem is when we centered this thing in the lathe, as it's spinning there, we got this guy zeroed out to the shaft, but this hub is wobbling. You'll see it. I took a little video while I was on the lathe. I'll see if it actually shows on there, but you can actually see this thing going up and down. So it's like it's not pinned center to the shaft. So just all around, it was very messy. The bushing that was in there was shot, so we had to replace the bushing on there. So with this thing wobbling, we had to actually true this up. It was out like a lot. In order for us to true this surface up to the shaft, we had to take 17 thousandths of an inch off of this bearing pocket in order to get that clearance right, in order to get this thing flat and true. Then when doing that, obviously your bearing clearance, your thrust is going to widen up, right? It's going to get too big. So now we have to get an additional shim in there to take up that slack. So we got this shim on this side, and then we also did one on the bottom. You can see it tucked in there on the center support to get that right. The bushing that came on this guy was also pooched, so we had to swap those out. I don't know. It just wasn't a good setup on this side. I'm also a little concerned about the oiling on here, or about the shaft, because he ground it pretty thin. So I'm really, I guess that's an oil supply, right? So you're gonna get oil in here and it's gonna come down, it's gonna go to the lower gear set and whatever, and I get that. But she's pretty thin right in those areas there. So I don't know. We'll see if this is gonna end up cracking on us or not. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd recommend buying this one from this guy unless maybe we just had a bad batch. I don't know. But we've had I would say 7 to 10 hours, for sure 7 hours into this reaction carrier alone, trying to get this right, getting this thing trued up and where it should be. So yeah, not good. And now we're working on the end plate. So we got our bearing in here because it's rollerized, and our end plate is only 4.5 thou right now. So once again, the output shaft is now at my buddy Mark's place. Whoops, the video cut off on me there. Ran out of storage on my phone. We'll try that again. So output shaft is at my buddy Mark's place. He's gonna lathe it down 5 to 6 thousandths of an inch to get us around that 10 to 12 thousandths clearance, somewhere in there. I'd be happy for, so we'll see what it measures out at once he's done with it. Also, something very interesting with this setup is the center support. I went through this one already and I replaced the lip seals, air checked it, everything's good. But when I tore the other, this is actually a different plate than what was originally on here. I'll show you that plate right away, but you got the retaining plate for your springs. There's 3 springs in here. They're supposed to be evenly spread out to return. And these are the springs that were in there. Look at how messed up that is. Look at that. Two of them are bent pretty good. One's really bent. So let me show you it here. I don't exactly know root cause here yet 100%, but this is the retaining plate that was on there. You can see that this thing's grooved pretty good. And the inside, there's a lot of chattering on here too. So somehow it appears as though this plate was spinning and it bent those springs that were underneath here in these pockets. So it's spinning and pulling those springs over and bending them. So I've got to figure out why. I was trying to figure out why this thing was spinning. It was making contact from the direct drum. So this is the direct drum side. There's a retaining plate. You can see the contact pattern right here on one side. So I got to figure that one out yet fully. Why this was contacting here. I'll check the clearances soon. But what's very interesting is the way that this was put together is there was two springs on one side in one pocket and one spring on the other. But this other pocket had nothing. So I don't know why you would want two in one pocket, one in the other, and nothing on the other side. So I don't know if this thing was a little bit cattywampus, you know. I'm not too sure. And yeah, messed it up. So I'll dig into it a little bit more. I'll go through the direct drum next, get that sprag swapped out, and I'll slide this over top of the center support and I'll dig into it some more, see what's going on. All right, so I got the old sprag out. The old one is on the right. So if you look, just tell me if you can see those lines in there. You can see that shine line, just rotate it a little bit. You can see it. And then compare that to the one on the left, nothing. So our sprag was starting to wear out. It would grab under low load, but it would not grab under wide open throttle power. So that sprag was starting to chew itself up. So we're going to replace that with this new one, and that should take care of that part. Okay guys, we are going to move on to the direct drum here. I actually have the clearance all figured out already. We got some thinner steels in there, so I actually have an extra one in there to make the clearance right. But she's all there. We're sitting at, what did I have? 74 thou clearance. It's a six clutch pack deal over here. So to start off, I am actually going to get this piston installed. I got the new lip seals on. And this might be a little bit interesting, but what I did is I actually stole my wife's little tool here, whatever she uses it for, blackheads or something. And I'm actually going to use this as my lip seal tool. And we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see if we can't get around there and get these lip seals in without damaging them. This thing is not sharp. It is nice and smooth. I'm just worried it might be a little bit wide, but we'll see. We'll give it a shot. And with that, I actually have a little mixture here. It is some tranny fluid with some STP treatment of some sort and a little concoction there. It kind of makes like a little bit of a syrup. And then I'll put that over the lip seals and inside the drum. And then we'll get that thing seated. Okay, she's all lubed up. And let's see if we can't get this thing started. There is no center seal on here. So this is actually an aluminum drum. There is no spot for a center seal on here, as we would just eliminate it anyway. So yeah, it's a nice piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the center lip seal over the center hump here. And once we got that going, then we will work on the outside. Let's see what it does. There you go. So when you're doing that, you just got to be real patient, and then you'll see it'll clear that lip around there and just a little bit of pressure down, but you don't want to pinch off that lip seal. So have some patience with it and you'll get it. So because this is a trans brake transmission, these springs are an upgraded spring versus a factory style. And you want all the spring pressure in here. The transmission is going to have lots of line pressure, so we're not worried about overcoming these springs. However, when we let go of the trans brake, we do want this piston to drop and release the clutches very quickly. All right, so I had this dude set up in the press, and then I was gonna go ahead and put the plate on it, and I noticed another nice wear pattern going on here. So the snap ring sits in here, okay? Something like that. So if I pull that away, you'll see a groove in there all the way around. Look at the back side. You can see it's actually almost blowing out. Look at that bend, that flex that's in that plate. Now, for comparison's sake, I have another one from a stock wow, been working too many engines, from a stock 400. Look at that difference. Pretty crazy, hey? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on instead. Alright, we'll get this guy set up in here. Get our other retaining plate put on. And then I got these jaws here. That works real nice. Also, this is what the stock snap ring looks like in that place. And this is the one that I will be using. A little bit of a beefier unit. Just about there. There it is. Backside's not quite yet. Go ahead and turn that thing down a bit more here, actually. There it is. Now she fell right into place. So you're going to want this snap ring opening right here in between these towers. These towers are designed to basically help keep the snap ring in place. But those little bumps, well, I'm not sure why I'm calling them towers, but bumps, towers, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. All right, now that that piston is installed, I'm actually going to take all the clutches for this guy. I'm going to soak them in my transmission fluid bath. I currently have the gear set in there, soaking a little bit. We had these rollers all real dry on both sides. The reaction carrier side, I actually had those completely out. So I just want them to soak up and fill up with lube. So I'll pull these out. I'll get those clutches in here, get them soaking, and then I am going to assemble the gear train. So you guys remember before I was showing you guys the shaft and how thin it was cut? Like that's just razor thin. Got the one that was in the Turbo 400, and I got my buddy Mark to go ahead and mill down a couple teeth for me. And look at that. Look at how much more meat there is on that. That's beautiful. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and I got the reverse band in here already as well. I got the lower roller bearing in there. The band was already soaking for about half an hour. So we're gonna go ahead and drop our gear set into play here. There she is. We'll go ahead and get our shaft in there. Make sure we got some trans fluid. Get it lubed up, make sure the bushings and stuff all have some oil on it. Get those splines all lined up. Our washer for underneath the center support. We're going to go ahead and lower in our center support now. You want to make sure that you got your holes lined up on the front of your center support with the holes in your case. go ahead and let you take a peek here where we're at. One trick I like to use, looking at this case lug right here, you'll see, oh maybe not, it's hard to see with the, here let's just take it off of that, zoom in a little bit. So there's a bit of an angle on the center support. That lug there's a little bit angled. I always line that up with that last lug, and then you know you're going to have your bolts lined up here, or your center support bolt, and then your other holes here. So we also have our case saver in here. We're going to install our snap ring in the bottom there, and it's also got a home in that groove right down there. So the snap ring you're going to want to use here is the one that's beveled. Wow, let it focus. There it is. You want the flat side facing the center support, so the bevel side is facing up. Alright, center support snap ring is in place, beveled side up, and I got the gap of the snap ring back over here. This side here is all covered. I don't want the gap in that area. It needs as much support as it can on that side. So she's good to go there. Alright, next up, we're going to go ahead and install our center support bolt, which is that hollow bolt. That just goes in the center. Alright, I'm just going to put a Phillips screwdriver on the left bolt hole there. I'm just going to pull it to the left at the same time. I'm going to snug that down, and then I'm going to torque that to 22 foot-pounds. Alright guys, the next step I'm going to do here, I'm going to play with the low reverse servo now that all my guts are in there. And torque down the center support bolt, that's all good. So we got our low reverse servo going on here. We got our shaft here that connects to the reverse band through the hole here. You want to get that clearance right. And this is the way I measured it. I've actually already got this set. So we're going to get this guy in. And what I'm doing is pushing this in. And once I'm level right here at this corner, that's the bottom corner, because that's it's a little bit tapered, so you need a base point, you need a point to measure at for travel. So this is where it's going to be seated. Once your cap is bolted on and your gasket, it's going to be resting here, right on that edge like that. So that's it's 0 point, and then you're looking for X amount of travel as this thing engages your band. So if I push that in, now you can see it's in. It's not flush anymore. So let's see. They're about flush, in. So I don't have a whole lot of travel right now. And I was targeting 80, 90 thousandths of an inch travel, and I'm at 90 thousandths right now. And what I did with the trans in park to hold the low gear set, or the output shaft, and grabbing onto the center shaft, I'm able to turn it. So this is all I'm doing. I'm turning it, and as I'm at 0, I'm feeling how much resistance I have, and then I'm at 80 thousandths. This thing should be locked right up. So right now I got 90 thousandths of an inch, and I'm happy with that. Interestingly, the way it was set previously, it was actually 155 thousandths of an inch travel. That just sounds like a lot for a trans brake application. So I tightened that way up, and I'm hoping that's actually gonna increase our trans brake engagement speed and help us out when we're on the bump, because our bump was actually kind of a bit sloppy. So we'll see if that helps out. How I did that, pull this out, I actually just welded on the tip. I just grew it. This is an old one, a different one. I just basically welded on top of here, and I went excessive, and then I just used the bench grinder and toned it down and shaped it. And then I kept taking a bit off and measuring and going back and forth until I got the clearance I wanted. So this is actually all set now. And then I can piece this back together with the spring and the internal servo there. This thing's not gonna get any sealing rings on there at all. All right, so I got this torqued down to 18 foot-pounds, and I went ahead and air checked it right through this hole here. And what I did was I turned on this shaft here and air checked it. As I held it with one hand air checking it, turned this sucker and she's locked up tight. So she air checks perfect. You'll notice I also put in the secondary clutches in here, or the intermediate clutches and plates. It is a 4-clutch intermediate setup on here. The reason I did that is while I was air checking, I could right away air check through the center support hole, and I can seat the snap ring, make sure everything is good, and now I'm going to check the clearance on that side. Alright, so I got the clearance all checked out here. We were actually too loose. Our clutch pack clearance was sitting at about 90 thou. That was a little bit too loose for my liking, so we want to tighten that up. One lucky buddy of mine was in the city today, and he was able to pick me up some steels for a 4L80 that measured out at 76 thousandths. So what I got in here now is the wave steel that came with the kit. I got 2 4L80 steels that are 76 thousandths of an inch, and then I have one of the 60 thou steels that came with the kit. So that is all good now, and we have 63 thousandths clearance, and I'm happy with that. So I'll take these out, I'll get them soaking, and then I'll be able to put these in. Next up, I got the clutches soaking for the direct clutch here, or the direct drum, so we're gonna get that thing together next. All right, so I got the direct clutch pack together. Got a combination of factory steels and 77 thou steels with these waffle style clutches in there. They've been soaking for a while, so that's all good to go. So we're gonna flip this thing over, and you're gonna notice that looks a lot different than a factory direct drum. Well, it's because it's not a factory one. I've talked about it, I guess, earlier, I'm pretty sure anyway. But this is an aluminum direct drum. So we're gonna piece this together. It's got a lower race support, I guess, and then we have the inner race side that's gonna go ahead and grip onto the hub. And I believe that's all the way seated. There she is. Okay, and then we got our 34 element sprag and our outer race, which is gonna go on top. So let's just go ahead and slip the sprag into this side first, being all gentle with it. And then let's go ahead and get it on this way. We'll push it down. Perfect. I even got it right the first time. Which direction it goes? That's pretty cool. So you want to be able to spin it clockwise when it's facing down, I guess, when this is looking at you. So that's what you want to see there. And then we're going to go ahead and put our retaining plate on it to keep everything in check. And then, instead of a stock snap ring on here, this is a spiral lock style snap ring. You see that? So this thing sees a lot of RPM. And the theory there is the stock snap ring can separate enough to fly off. I don't know, I've never seen it, but why not throw this on there? Cheap insurance, right? So I'll get that put on, and then she's good to go.